I'm here today with James Henry Klingensmith. James was born on July 9th, 1949. James served during the Vietnam War and was in the Army. James has achieved sergeant, and today is Memorial Day, May 30th, 2022. We're in Caledonia, Michigan. My name is Alex Klingensmith, and this is my grandfather. We'll begin with the first question. Where were you born?
Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
And what did you do as a kid?
Did many things. Worked on a farm with my uncle. Had a paper route and delivered papers mainly by the first couple of years on my bicycle. So other than that, playing softball and baseball.
How long did you play baseball for? Or softball?
Softball I continue to play to this day. So throughout grade school, actually, we started playing softball. So, and like I said, here I am, 73 years old and still playing.
And how many siblings did you have?
Had 5 brothers or 4 brothers and 2 sisters. So for a total of 6.
A lot on your parents.
A
lot on your parents.
Yeah. So.
And then what were you doing before service?
I worked for Allegheny Airlines at that time in Chicago and also in Youngstown, Ohio. So,
what were you doing in the airport? What were you doing in the airplane industry?
I was a customer service agent, which mainly worked the ticket counters and the ramp area, loading and unloading airplanes.
And then how did you enter into service?
I was drafted.
What year was that?
1969, November 1969.
Do you remember that day?
No. Long time ago. So.
And then what was training like for you?
Basic training was at Fort Dix, and that was when I entered that area of the United States. It was in the wintertime. So we did a lot of how do I want to say that? Learning how to shoot rifles, did some KP duty, and that's mainly what I had to do was what they called pots and pans that day. So in the morning you go over there and of course the cooks are mixing up stuff for breakfast, and I had to wash the pots and pans. So by the time you get that done, lunch, they would start on lunch. So same thing, and then the same thing for dinner. Also did a lot of marching, if that's what you wanted to call, and physical training. Other than that, training was just like gym class. So a lot of running, and that's about it.
Was it difficult for you?
No, not really. only when you was wearing your backpack, which had about 30 pounds of stuff in it. So, of course, our backpacks were duffel bags. So,
Was there any moment during training that stuck with you?
that stuck with me?
Yeah.
No,
Nothing stood out.
no.
And then how long did training last?
That was 8 weeks, I think, for basic training, and then when I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, that was called AIT, which is advanced training, and that's where I got the training for being a supply sergeant. And that was more or less a lot of classroom stuff on that, just trying to learn how to enter stuff in or write it down, more or less, at that time. So, and then after I was done with that, moved on to Germany, and I was stationed there in 2 different cities there, Büdingen and Babenhausen. And that was all barracks life. So,
Did you fly to Germany? Or were you on a ship?
no, we flew out of New Jersey, right across from Fort Dix. I can't even remember what the name of the Air Force base was right there. So and that's was about an 8-hour flight back then.
How many guys went with you to Germany?
There was not only military person on there, but some of them, there was wives of the military or children of the military that was going over on that flight. So, and we flew into Frankfurt and then was dispersed from there. So,
And then what specifically were you doing during your service?
again,
What were you doing during your service?
I mean, my main duty was to make sure that everybody had what they were supposed to in way of clothes, gear that they needed and should have in their either their duffel bag or foot locker at that time. So other than that, like I said, mainly doing that. One thing we did a lot of is picking up laundry once a week and taking it from by truck to a laundry area in Frankfurt, and we drop off stuff, dirty stuff, and pick up clean stuff that we bedding and stuff that we sent in the week before that we take in there. So and that was about a 2 or 3 hour process of doing that.
So you were handling supplies too.
Right. Not necessarily. Mainly it was just, like I said, the clothing and certain areas of that I was in if we went out on, I call it bivouac, but I had to make sure that I was handling different things. And when we went up for training in Grafenbeer, that and we did that twice a year, once in the spring and or summer and winter. And what that entailed is that I mainly hauled all the M16s for our company, and we took them up and had them ready for the guys whenever they wanted to go out or went out in the field and stuff. And also, I carried the water tank and had to keep it filled and stuff because when they went out in maneuvers like that, the mess hall more or less went out with them also. So,
Was service that difficult for you?
no. So,
And then did you have any siblings serve?
I had an older brother and a younger brother who served. Older brother was drafted into the Army, and he was killed in Vietnam, January 3rd of 1969. And I also had a younger brother that was in the Navy at that time also.
And did you make any friends while in the service?
Oh yeah, you make a lot of friends in the service and stuff. And a lot of those guys were my age at that time, so, you know, they were more or less like brothers. So, and a lot of times we just, you know, mainly stayed in the barracks, or we'd go down to the club and eat, or eat and drink. Other than that, stayed in the barracks, played cards or games or pushball. Very seldom did you have a chance to go off base, because in my case, I just didn't really feel like going off base. You could go into some of the towns and stuff, and it wasn't really that hard to even talk to people, because people in Europe, mainly in Germany, they could speak English or even 2 or 3 languages, and that they did that fluently, whereas Americans don't speak foreign languages. I mean, multiple foreign languages like they did. So, other than that, like I said, it was just a friends you made and stuff, and I've visited some of my the friends that I met there since I got out of the Army. So That's about it.
How big was the base?
Well, we had 4 different companies, what they call companies, on the base, and there was also another battalion on that base. So the one in Germany probably was, maybe 100 acres, because you had the motor pool, which kept all the vehicles and trailers and stuff. So.
And was the barracks life kind of easy, or was it?
Was it kind of easy?
Yeah, well, for you to just sleep, or
Well, barracks life is the only thing you have dividing you from, say, other bunk beds, or because usually I bunked with one person, and we had our 2 or 3 lockers and our foot lockers. So the lockers were the walls. Once you got above the lockers, everything was open space, so you had people right down there next to you, and they were doing their own thing. So hey, you'd have, ours had 2 stories on it, and probably had 20 guys up there on each floor. So
and then how were you staying in touch with family?
with family, the only way you could actually stay in touch with them was writing by mail. I did get one phone call. She ended up paying for.
So were you writing letters often, getting letters often?
Yeah, I got quite a few letters. In fact, when we went to mail call each day, that they'd have a letter and they'd read off the name on it, go up and get it. So I normally went up every day. My writing letters back home wasn't as often as that is what I got in the mail. So.
And then where were you when you came home?
When we came home, we came back to the United States. We got discharged from Fort Dix also, and just came back home and resumed life. Went back to work for Allegheny Airlines in Youngstown, and that was about it.
Did you also fly home?
Yes, we flew home from Germany back to get discharged, yes.
What was the feeling of returning home?
A little bit of, mainly a lot of joy, because I had 2 years that I guess I don't try to remember a whole lot about what went on, so. And very seldom do I talk about it. The Vietnam War, which was going on at that time, was not welcome back home. Any of the people that were getting discharged were disliked. So, like I said, you just tried to come back and get into civilian life as you knew it before you went in. So,
Did you face any problems with returning to civilian life?
no. In fact, it was fairly easy because it was went back doing the same things that I had been doing. So,
And then you mentioned it earlier, you still stayed in touch with fellow
yeah. In fact, whenever we went to Los Angeles, I visited friends that I was in the Army with, and also we went to St. Louis, flew into there, and went down to visit two of the people that I was in the service with. And they were, like I said, a lot of those guys were the same age as me, so you fit right in with them. You made the friends with who you wanted to, and tried to keep in contact with them. So, in fact, one of the guys met us when we lived down in the Dayton, Ohio area, but he gave me a call. He said, hey, I'm in your area, stop and see you. I said, sure. So, come to find out that he'd married a girl that lived about two towns north of us, where we lived in the Dayton area. And then also when we lived in the Dayton area, we went down to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and one of the guys that we graduated with in high school was in the Air Force down there, so we visited him. That's about it on that side.
And then do you have any takeaway from your service? Any lessons learned?
No, not really. Like I said, it's just 2 years of out of my life that I don't try to get involved with a whole lot. Here again, you met friends. And another takeaway of that era was the draft came to a close. Where most of the people now are, they sign up for 4 years. And I think even the Army, the Army, I think it's still 3 years, your first enlistment, so you can go from there, but it's not where, when I was growing up, you had to sign up for the draft when you became 18. Excuse me. And if your number got called, you went. So.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay.